You're listening to an episode of the Abigail Pugh podcast with, you guessed it, Abigail Pugh. I'm an introverted mama who took my online business from 0 to 7 figures in 15 months selling my own digital products on social media. And guess what? I did it all with my 3-year-old daughter no less than 3 feet away from me at all times. Now I'm bringing you everything I've learned about building a wildly profitable online business that supports your life while allowing you to truly live it. Get ready for raw, honest conversations with entrepreneurs making thousands per month selling their own digital products and people just like you who ditch self-doubt to create the life they've always wanted. If you're ready to make more money, have more impact, and still have time for the things that matter most, you're in the right place. Grab your sneakers, head out on your hot girl walk, and let's dive in. You know those people that you just instantly vibe with? Well, today's guest was that kind of person for me. I found her, I want to say over a year ago, because all these women that I look up to that are kind of in similar niches to me, and definitely the best of the best, were in her mastermind, right? And I saw all their names and I was like, oh my gosh, who is this person? Like, how did she get all these amazing people in her mastermind? And I didn't end up actually signing up for the mastermind, but I instantly followed her. And over the past year, we've become good friends. And she is low-key the funniest person I've ever met. But she's also a 7-figure business mentor, a speaker, and she also recently launched her own tech business, which I just think is the coolest thing ever. She's all about infusing untraditional marketing, sales psychology, and laughter, of course, into every aspect of business. Natasha, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you so much. What a good intro. I'm blushing. And I think it has been well over a year now. And it was like instant vibes.
Yep.
We're always in each other's DMs, connecting, vibing. So I'm so stoked to be here and just... Yeah, it's been such an amazing journey, even watching you over the past year too, the way you've grown.
Oh, you're so sweet. I know I was like considering joining her mastermind, and it's funny. She actually had a podcast episode talking about how like she's a business coach and she does masterminds, but she doesn't invest in them. Like she's self-led. And I aligned with that so much. Like I am very much so like, I don't need someone to tell me what decisions to make. I like to make my own decisions because if they're wrong, I would be mad at that person. It's just kind of my personality. So I kind of instantly vibed with this idea of like, you can be self-led and you can be an amazing leader without necessarily having to like have someone else guiding you. And I love guiding other people, but it's just not something that I don't want someone like in my back pocket telling me what to do. Like I want to make my own mistakes. And even my mom was like, yeah, you've been like that since you were born. Like you want to make your decisions. And now, of course, my 3-year-old is exactly like that. So that's fun. That meshes really well. But I usually love to start these episodes off with you kind of just telling us your journey. I know that you went to business school, which I love because I don't think that you have to go to business school to kind of coach people and be an amazing leader. But I think it's a really cool side to your story, knowing that you do have like the book smart side of all of this as well. So I'd love to just hear a little bit about your journey.
Yeah. So I graduated 2019 and it was comms and business. And so it's so funny because I look at even the tech company now and like my first business, which was a design agency, a digital marketing and design agency. The tech company is like a manifestation of everything that I've done from school to my government job. But I took comms and business and I actually have taken away. So I loved my degree. I had such a hoot. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's such waste. And I agree a lot of the times. But I had an incredible time and I did learn, like I took a class on negotiation, even learning all the intricate details to sales psychology, color psychology, the way it impacts businesses. Yeah, sometimes a lot of it wasn't retained or it's so old school, but it was such a gift and I use it. And then, so that was, my degree. And I was in the government for 4 years, managed some of the biggest promotional campaigns for Canada. And I loved it during university. And then when I was about to walk the stage, I was like, wait, what the hell do you mean I have to do this for the rest of my life? No, thank you. I was like, send help.
Same thing every day. No, thank you.
Yeah, dude. I was looking out the window, like during summers when I was full time, I was like touching the glass. I'm like, help me. Please get me out. God. I know. I'm like, I can't do this any longer. And so it got really real. And 2019, so one of my good friends to this day, Jen, she owns a really successful clinic, a cosmetic clinic here in Ottawa. And she saw that I had a website and it was a personal one because I was trying to break free of this government job and I just signed a full-time contract and I'm in the capital of Canada. So a government job is like the dream. If you have that, and especially the sector I was in, global affairs, it is very, very sought after. Everyone thought I was Delulu. Everyone thought I was crazy. They're like, what do you mean you're crying and you don't want this dream? Like, can I take your position? I was like, please, bitch. I'm
Take
like,
it. It's yours.
yours. I'm like, sign the contract. Sign it for me. Take it. But Jen saw that because I was trying to get consulting jobs because I was like, what the hell? Like, what do I become a real estate agent? Like anything but this.
Yeah.
And I know I'm like poking fun at it. I did learn so much that helped me in my web design business and my business coaching, but yeah, it just wasn't for me. And so Jen saw that and she was like, can you make my website? And I was like, slay, sure. And it was just a little simple favor. And when it went live, I was not expecting this. I got so many inquiries. And even to this day, like right now in my mastermind that I'm running, I have 2 beauty pros. That was my foot in the door. And I worked with a lot of beauty professionals because that was the referrals. And I hit $10,000 my first month in business. And it was like mind blowing to me. Like that money as a 21-year-old was crazy. And I still to this day in my notes tab in my iCloud, 2017, I wrote my goals. I was like first or second year university. I was like, have $10,000 saved my 4th year of university. I had
Oh.
no idea how I was going to do that. And then, yeah, my first month in business, second month in business, 10K again, third month in business. And then I quit and went full time and I never, ever, ever looked back. And it's just been such a journey from there. And in that moment too, I was just designing the first 3 months and I quickly switched to digital marketing and designing, or I added in the digital marketing and I built passive profits. My first offer was a digital product and it was a massive success, the Instagram kit. And then I built passive profits. And it was just a beautiful segue into business mentoring because I hit multi-6 figures before I actually labeled myself as a business mentor and pivoted. That was a huge success. My income literally grew in 1 year over 1,000% just because the sheer demand for it. And I listened to my people. And that's why I have a lot of people who come to me in the middle of a pivot because the success and the way I did it was very untraditional.
Yep.
And then I really, really stepped into speaking, business mentoring, and this present day, building that and baby Azura. And it's going great. I'm having a hoot.
Oh, yeah, you guys, Azura is her tech company. Tell us a little bit about that. She literally built it based off of something missing in the industry. And this is what I talk about all the time is like finding a gap and being the solution to that gap. So tell us a little bit about that. I am obsessed with the platform that you built.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. So after running masterminds and I'm huge on client experience. So I always have a feedback form when you're done, whether it's even a passive offer or a mastermind, a group offer. And consistently, whether we were in the program or after in the constructive feedback section, I would say 80% of people will be like, listen, I don't have any feedback for you or the team. Like I had an amazing time, amazing results. The only thing was the platform. And I know that's like beyond it's what we have. I use it too. It just sucks because, Voxer felt very chaotic. So I tried Slack. Then people were too confused because the creative space, it's a little too tech savvy at times. There's too much going on. And then myself too, being a designer, previously, I deeply prioritize brand identity, brand visuals, and just the overall holistic experience.
Yeah.
I'm very, very strict on that. And so these apps that we deliver these quality services in, these apps that could not clash more with our brand, even if they tried, I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
This is where we're spending the majority of our time. And I hate it. I want to go home. I hate it. And, all the feedback. And so I was like, wait, why don't I just make my own? And because the reality is these communication apps, we see the Thrive carts, we see the Stand stores, we see these apps that were made and these pieces of technology that were literally designed for us, right? And they're young, they're fresh, they understand what we need. Slack and Voxer were not designed for us.
No, they were designed by boys.
Literally, like, yeah,
Yeah.
boys, you, yeah, we don't want that. No, fucking here. No, just kidding. I'm kidding. But for real. And so it was an epiphany of like, what the hell? I'll just make my own. And so there came the idea August 2022 for Azura. And I didn't hit go until April 2023. Very on the whim because a dear friend of mine, Miwa, she in the financial sector helped and launched apps. She helped manage them, project manager, and market them. And she was like, I'm trying to break out into entrepreneurship with women like you. I remember months and months ago, you mentioned this app you want to build. Is that still an idea? And then I'm not even kidding. 2 hours later, Kiera from Identity House reached out, was like, hey, this is so random, but I know you're launching a mastermind and I really, really, really want in that room. Are you open to swapping services? I'll design the app for you and do all that and the wireframes and we can do a swap. And usually I'm never into swaps. I was like, it's a sign.
Deal. Done.
It's a sign. And I hit go on it from that moment on. And so, yeah, Azura is the industry's communication platform. It's fully customizable. I could talk on and on
It's
and on about
beautiful. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. It's
Thank
gorgeous.
you.
Kiera, the girl who she just mentioned, the web designer, she's actually designing my website right now. I'm obsessed with her. She is incredible. Like she's so good at what she does. But yeah, if anyone listening does anything one-on-one or group programs that are like a little bit smaller, like a little bit closer knit group programs, Azura is like the prettiest thing I've ever seen. Like I love it so much. And I feel like companies like this where the owner and the designer are like, you're someone that cares deeply about this, right? And you are constantly making updates. And like these big wig companies, like no way in hell would you ever be able to talk to the owner of Slack and be like, hey, could we, like, this is not working for my community, or this is not working for my one-on-ones. Like, can we update this? Like, what's in the pipeline? Whereas like Natasha is so actively involved in all of this. And I'm just like constantly seeing updates and I'm obsessed with it. I kind of wish I did one-on-ones just so I could use it for them.
I know, yeah. And we even right from the jump, like Azura has evolved so much because we have what's called the feature roadmap. Because I was like, the only way we're going to grow and continue to evolve for service providers, coaches, and creatives is if we put your voice on a pedestal and make it so stinking easy for you guys to say what the heck you want. And so you can submit right in Azura your feature requests, and the devs personally reach out when it's live. You can see it will be added.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, and you can upvote as well on other feature requests. So I think honestly, I have to check the number, but I think we've deployed, because we just gave access February 2024. I think we've deployed over 50 feature requests. And yeah, we're even designed for big communities now too. And it's just through threads and all the features we've added in. And it's just like ever growing. So I'm like, I love her.
Oh my gosh. So you guys Azura has been open for 5 months now. Is that right?
Yeah.
And how many users do you have on the platform already?
We're so close to 2,000.
Oh my gosh. That's insane. It's so cool to see you switch so before she was doing like mastermind, launching things not all the time, but like with masterminds and group programs, like you have to launch them, right? It's not just this like, oh, hey, suddenly this is there for people. It's like a big launch and it's a lot of energy, and you kind of switched into like monthly reoccurring, more passive income. And I love that for you. It's so cool to see you just like enjoying your life a little bit more. I know you moved, you got out of a relationship, and now you're kind of back with family and just kind of like seeing the joy in your life. And it's such a testament to like really truly building a business around your life, instead of, fitting your life into your business. Right. And I just love that. And I know that like you kind of stepped away from like huge cash months to do this instead. Did you feel kind of like nervous to leave behind? I mean, you guys, this girl's like raking it in with her masterminds, like, and she deserves every penny. Like, it's not the type of mastermind where they're like, oh, be in my air for $25,000. No, this girl gets deep, and like the people who are in there, I've like seen, so like I follow people that did her mastermind, and I've like seen the jumps that they've made and seen just how they've transitioned after working with you and really just going into their own and just showing up crazy different ways than they did before. So tell us a little bit about kind of switching from those crazy cash months to now being more monthly reoccurring. Like, were you nervous to kind of make that huge pivot?
Yeah, I love that. And It's such a prominent question to so many people, whether you're switching and you're listening right now from your corporate job to full-time entrepreneurship or just part-time entrepreneurship, or you're switching niches where I went from designer to mentor, this is such a relevant question. And so I love it. And yeah, I was scared shitless because I was absolutely like scared shitless because I was accustomed to 2023 was like my biggest year. And so I was very accustomed to working with very high level entrepreneurs. I've never worked in 2023 with more multimillionaires. And it was such a beautiful year and experience and schedule that is so different from this year. But I just got so real with myself and I was like, okay, a tech company is wildly different. Like you and I in our service-based world and coaching, mentoring, even creatives, we are so used to the business model where you get the cash first, then you have to do the work, right? Tech companies, you have to put hundreds of thousands of dollars in and they go, I hope, I wish, I pray this land months and months down the line. It's like, it
Terrifying.
is. It really humbles you and takes you to like true business roots outside of the instant gratification model of Instagram and online selling and digital products. And so going from hitting a base income and well over six figures monthly cash, to, okay, I have to completely strip down. Like I cannot do what I'm doing. It was very scary, but I cannot stress it enough. I deeply, deeply in that moment and to this day believed in Azura so much because of the sheer experience and even just in my world market research and then all the founders I brought in to help build Azura. And then when I did tell people the holy shit reaction. And so I allowed myself to just accept that I'm not going to have this instant gratification, that things are probably going to look a little different, but my God, the reward is going to be so much better. And it has been. And it's so much so. And I really set myself up well too. So I prepped, I was very strategic. I don't operate on a month to month basis. I've always operated where I know for a minimum 8 months, I have like a base income of say 60 to 70K and I could take time off and I'm good. And that was 2023. And so I worked my booty off and I was like, I know at the end of the year, Q4, I'm going to want to pull back and just pour into Azura. And so I didn't take away anything from my investments. The way I funded Azura was strictly from recurring revenue. And I still took 4 months off. And to this day, I still have recurring income from 2023. And it allowed me to just bask in the marketing, the experience, time off, also just take a moment to celebrate 2023 and still put away massive amounts into investments and just enjoy life. And so anyone listening, the shift was very scary, but and then it slowly went down my income before we launched Azura,
Yeah.
right? And to this moment, my income is I made well over $500,000 by this time last year. I'm not close to that. I've made multi six figures, but my income's down by over 50%.
Yep.
But Azura is healthy and doing well, right?
Yep.
But I had quite a few months of like, oh, okay, if I didn't have Azura, this would be very different. But I prepped, I was strategy filled, I did the work, I also sat in reality, and I just released the need to beat the next month income wise or the next year. And that's long term vision in business. And I think a lot of people can be so caught up in the now that they fail to plan that. So yeah, it's been a shift.
A huge one, but it's been really cool to watch and just like see how, not that you were unhappy before, but just really seeing you like spend more time with your family and just like enjoying life and having weeks where you don't talk about business at all, but I know in the background, like your business is still thriving. And I'm really jumping into more monthly recurring revenue right now too. And it's totally different than other types of income. But it's just so cool to like finally dive into it after seeing so many people do it. So that's amazing. I'm just like in awe of you. But I'd love to kind of jump into sales psychology. I know you mentioned that earlier, and this is kind of your thing. And it's funny, before I found you, I was doing a lot of the things that you like teach within sales psychology, but I didn't know why they worked necessarily, or like I didn't know the psychology behind it because I'm a sociology major. I've always understood people and everything that I do, like I understand why I'm doing it, but I didn't realize that it was like psychology as well. So it's so cool to see like, oh, that's why this works. Like, this is why this works for people to get them to buy or to get them to follow you or things like that. So I'd love to kind of just jump into sales psychology a bit and like the buyer types. And then after that, kind of dive into how people can use sales psychology on Instagram in like tangible and tactical ways.
Yeah, I know. Sales psych is magical. Once you learn it, it's like it's the way of life. There's
Yep.
no going back. It's so powerful, and I truly believe this deeply, deeply that because some people there's this perception sometimes around sales, and I say this often that it can be manipulative or just sales as a whole. It can be very bro markety or icky, but I truly think if you lead with that integrity and that people first approach paired with the psychology, you can leave the most amazing, long lasting impression during the sales process because ultimately, in my eyes, sales is just effective and loving communication when
Mm-hmm.
done right. And so I consider the buyer types, the 4 buyer types, it's like the love languages of sales, right? And it's so important to understand them because the way you buy is not how the next person buys.
Yep.
The way you receive and give love is not how the next person or your best friend does, right? It is such a subjective and personal experience. And you can absolutely create customization while talking to the masses while knowing the buyer types. And so the 4 buyer types, and I like religiously live by this. And I have strategically, naturally, so before I get into the 4, I have a very strong expressive and driver buyer. And I naturally sometimes purchase in the driver buyer energy. I emulate out expressive buyer energy. And that's just my personality too. But I have very strategically made sure that my audience is filled with expressive buyers because it makes business fun. It is going to carry your legacy. It is going to make the most engaged community. So the 4 buyer types, number 1 is analytical. They're the ones where people get so frustrated with. Yeah, they're like, I'm done. I'm done with this. I want to go home. The analytical ones, they're very they hate risk. If
Yep.
you sell to an analytical the way you will an expressive, like you're getting NFL stiff arm. They're like, bye. See you, sister. See you never. Blocked. Bye. So analytical, it's so important. You see, sometimes people are like, don't talk about the features, only sell the benefits, only sell the value. No, you're literally shooting out the potential of landing analytical buyers because they need the features. They need
Yep.
the price details to feel rooted. They hate being pitched to. They hate feeling like they're getting straggled into something and it's not made from them, the decision.
Yep.
And so usually with analytical buyers, they'll come in with some questions, but they've been stalking you and they're going to be sometimes a little bit more cold, a little bit more dry. And so when you're communicating to them, you want to say, I respect your process. Take your time. I'm going to follow up in about 3 days. Is that cool? And you get a validation piece, but you let them know you're coming back. Those little subtle moves in the sales process can do wonders. And it's a running joke that I've been able to convert the majority of my analytical buyers into expressive because
You almost had me. I'm analytical.
yeah.
And you literally, until I listened to that podcast episode and realized like, that's not what I need. I just love this girl and I want to be friends with her. I'm 100% an analytical buyer.
Yep. And it's so important, like you don't pressure them. And it's so funny because my analytical ones always die of laughter, especially when I give a sales presentation and I have like the visuals to show you call to actions and the difference between next. They're like, oh my God, if you ever sold to me the way you would sell to them, I'd literally catch the ick. I'm like, right? And it's so important to, and this is where I say with sales, it is literally, and it's a shift in perspective. And it can also like root you in and disarm your fear or ick that you have within yourself when you're selling. It literally is just effective, active listening and communication. And because you're taking a moment to say, okay, let me read the room here and look at this person. And do I need to shift my approach slightly? So I'm not just following this script. So I'm not just treating them like a number. How can I treat them like a human and love on them and sell to them the way they want to be sold to and loved on? And I think that's such a powerful statement to people skills. And sales is literally that. And so Analytical, they need the information. They don't want you to be that like annoying, enthusiastic 24/7, like, oh my God, let's do it now, and pressure them. They literally need the features and details. They will come back in due time. They don't want to feel pressured or persuaded. So having, intentional sales pages, good Instagram graphics, and details that effectively inform them and allow them to feel safe and secure in the purchase decision. And if they have follow-up questions, they will come back. But you have to respect their time and not just get annoyed or frustrated if they need a little bit of time to marinate in that information. But it is on you to set the tone and say, I will be following up, or, you take control a little bit. But that's analytical. And you can spot them out pretty easily. They tend to talk a lot about stats, numbers. Sometimes by nature, all my accounting lawyer clients tend to be more analytical. They tend to do a lot of how-tos and educational content too. It's just a part of their personality. It's that analytical side. And sometimes I've noticed a huge trend. They tend to struggle to get into the vulnerability piece. I've seen that a huge component and trait within a lot of them, not always. And then you have the second buyer type, amiable. These are the hot messes. They're just hot mess express. We love a good amiable, okay? You'll see them in communities, often memberships. They're great, but they're the ones who will ghost you. And this has to be probably one of the most light bulb moments. It was one of my students, Tatiana. She's an amazing, amazing founder. She's earned multi-millions. She's incredible. And she learned this one way to sell. She paid $30K for this program and it freaking worked. She scaled her business until it didn't. 2022, she got like slapped in the face and it just didn't work. This speaking to the masses, scripts.
Yep.
It was gone in the wind. Things move so quick. And so her program was attracting a lot of amiable buyers because it was very community based. And she took my sales expert mini mind when I was running it at the time, not any longer, but she started landing 10K deals just like that because she shifted her tone and her perspective and the way she sold. So amiable buyers, they literally, once trust is built and they respect you, who they're investing in, you can literally walk them to the checkout. Right to the checkout. I always say I have a graphic on my presentation and it's like a teacher, kindergarten, they have the rope.
Here you go.
You're literally little Miss Elizabeth and you're walking like this, okay? And you're like, let's go. And you're walking them to the checkout. And the amiable buyers are like, let's go. Like you can tell them. So
Yep.
You have to be so if you sold to an analytical buyer the way you would an amiable.
No way.
Yeah, there's no way. So how you do that is like, okay, you can disarm, and a sales psychology tactic is humor. It can be used in so many ways, but it disarms because pain, pleasure. And so you can call it out if the relationship and dynamic is there. And I've done this with my amiable buyers. I'm like, girly pop, if you ghost me one more time, what's going on? Why are you ghosting?
Girly pop. All her nicknames are coming out, you guys. This is one of my favorite things about Natasha. She has the funniest names for people. Like girly pop is like the mellowest one.
Yeah, sometimes they're so out of pocket. I'm like, I don't know where that came from. It's like an alter ego.
I love it.
Yeah, it's quite out of pocket. Yeah. But you can call them out and just be like, if you do this one more time, like I swear, we're doing it right now. What's the spiral of the day? And then they start laughing. They're like, oh my God. Because they really, really love to feel. They love to be the star in a community and they're going to show up so well in your community. But to get to that purchase decision is a lot for them. They struggle to make decisions. And so you need to understand that when talking to an amiable buyer, and if you can do a little bit more of that affirmative type of tone of like, let's do it now. What's going on? Like, and that's where if you say, okay, I'm going to spend a little bit more time and attention on this one and just say, and it's active listening. Amazing salespeople are great active listeners, and you give them a space just to word vomit out briefly. Not every time, because I know we obviously can't be hanging out in our DMs.
Yeah.
But if you just let them word vomit out and then you are affirmative and say, if I was you, I would do this, and you tell them what is the best decision, you are relieving that exhaustive decision because they're not good at decisions of what to invest in. So just telling them what is best because you see them for you, because you listened and asked questions, they're going to be like, okay, done. I'm signing up.
I'm ready.
Yeah, and that's happened so many times, and so that's amiable. And you're going to see them in communities. I would assume that you probably do have quite a few amiable buyers as well because you do community now. You're launching that, right? And
Yeah,
then
I
um,
definitely do.
it happens a lot with low ticket too. You get a lot of amiable buyers. And then you have my beloved expressive buyers. They're my all-time favorite. They are the ones that are going to champion out your brand in rooms that you will never step foot in. They are the ones who want to be the star client. They are going to show up. And that's why I really prioritized it, because they deeply care about the relationship with the person they're investing in. And I know this is controversial, but a lot of people say like you can't be friends with your clients. I'm like, shut up. Thank you. Respectfully,
That's the
humbly.
dumbest thing I've ever heard.
You know what I
Literally,
mean?
it would make business so boring. Like I have legit become friends with people that are my students
Yep.
and I love it. I literally love it. And yes, you have to like have the boundaries and things like that. But like it's the best thing ever and it makes business so much more fun.
It does. And the way I'll teach marketing is the more I know about you, the more your marketing is going to shine. And I think that can be a big gap in a lot of people's marketing is it's almost like a factory. Come in what I like to call the be me method. No, I want you to shine. And so when
Yeah.
we have this amazing connection and I learn about who you are as a person, that will carry the work that we do so much further. And so expressive buyers, and they're going to do the work.
Yep.
Driver buyers and expressive are going to show up for you and show up for the community,
Yep.
not only in your socials and in your comments. They're the ones who are engaging, loving on you, but inside your community, they have the sense of pride in being the star client, being so respectful and loving towards you and the brand that you've built. And it just creates such an incredible synergy within your world. And it's like a vortex and it's amazing. And so expressive buyers are naturally expressive. They're the ones who are going to be engaging on your stuff, commenting, the ones you're laughing with, who you feel like you truly have a connection with. You can say, "Oh, I could probably have a glass of wine with her, hang out, do a cutie workout with her, and just vibe, kiki." It's so amazing. And then they are the ones who often are recurring clients or returning, and they're just there to stay with you, and they love you for you. And then you have driver buyer. And so these guys, this is the one you see it often in the coaching space. They're the ones who there's so many driver buyers because we're entrepreneurs. And so we don't shy away from humble brags. But driver buyers often talk about the financials. They will own their wins and own it with pride. They have that big dick energy, if you want to say. Yeah, like they're swanging, okay? They're swanging on Instagram. They're like, I'm here. Yeah. And so they have this like underlying, undeniable sense of authority. They can be very loud and proud, powerhouses. When you're selling to them too, you cannot sell to them the way you sell to an amable. And you have to be very affirmative, but show them that you see their power as well. But they need to see that you are just so confident and strong within. So price psychology is massive with this. A lot of high ticket sales is within driver buyer energy. They're going to be your easiest, fastest, best sales often too, because it's like done. Their mind's made up. But it's because you walk your talk and you have
Yep.
very strong marketing with humble brags. And so those are the 4 buyer types. That was long-winded, but there's so much I could dive into with it, but it's life-changing once you learn it, and it truly can become second nature. And it becomes a fun game to suss out like, okay, what buyer type do I think they are? And then you get to shift and read the room and adapt. And you get this sense of confidence and pride in the way you communicate
Yep.
while selling. And so it's just magical. I love it.
And you guys, if you are in Rich Girl Community, Natasha's going to come do a training for us to dive into this deeper because there's so much more to it. Like I have read so many books, I have listened to so many podcasts on it. And like every time I learn, like there's this like new light bulb moment because like psychology is so broad. And when like the more examples you hear, it's just so cool to be able to connect it. And similar to her, I do prioritize expressive buyers as well because I just love them. And since I've been in business for like 2 years now, I have those ride or die people. And I think a lot of them have like turned into expressive buyers. I think you can have like different buyer types based on who you're working with as well, which just makes it so fascinating and cool. But I'd love for you to kind of just share with us, like, maybe one way on Instagram to sell to each buyer type. Like specifically, like how you would do it on a reel or stories or a post or something like that. I know there's not like, there is still like communication in DMs with low ticket, but it's definitely not the same as high ticket, right? It's very different. So yeah, could we get some examples of like how to specifically sell to each buyer type?
Yeah. So expressive is if you make yourself, you're showcasing the fun synergy that you give, the connection. You are pedestaling the relationships that you have with your clients and how that creates such an amazing, healthy and amazing dynamic while working and investing. An expressive buyer is going to love that. Or if you can show in a reel of like how you prioritize their results and really work with them to be that star client. But expressive buyer equals personal brand. And
Yep.
it's really about connecting to you because I literally cannot tell you how many times I say this all the time. This is like, I got to trademark this one. You are selling the most when you're not selling. And what do I mean? It's because you're selling yourself. And so that is so important for expressive buyers. So talking about if you get them to even help decorate your office, that's building expressive buyers. We in sales psychology, it's called the mirror exposure effect. We deeply, deeply need familiarity. So think of TikTok. We all have comfort creators. Me, I love a good fridge tour. And so I'm like,
Yes.
you know what you're going to get. We all have those cozy comfort creators because it's familiarity. And
Yep.
so we literally seek that. It helps our nervous system. And so that can, if you start to create this mirror exposure by sharing your fur babies or your children, your funny little moments that you have with your partner, or you time lapse like a weekly cleanup session or whatever it is, people will fall in love with you for the things that you think are boring and mundane. That literally curates expressive buyers. And so
Yep.
that type of content, personal branding rooted and focused, is really, really good for that.
Yep. I actually did a reel like this last week, you guys, on it was 4th of July. And there was that trending audio with the girl from Legally Blonde where she said, "Oh my gosh, you look like the 4th of July. It makes me want a hot dog." And I like did a funny reel with my husband. I was not selling anything. I was literally just connecting, showing my husband, like he like went to Walmart and got like an American flag bathing suit. This is the guy who like wears beige and black. That's it. Like no logos, nothing. Like he is a beige, boring dresser. And he showed up on 4th of July, like all decked out. And I was like, this is the funniest thing I've ever seen. So I like had him do a reel with me. Like that is an example, right? I'm not directly selling anything. I'm just connecting with you. And people loved it. It was so funny. We were all laughing together and I love it. It's so much fun.
Yeah. And like that's ultimately what gets people to start engaging with you. It opens the door for a healthy, loving connection, which
Yep.
likely translates into sales down the line. And that's that piece of having patience in sales. If it's not right away, it's not right away, that instant gratification. Just know that it is nurturing and it is going to turn into something amazing. Not always, you can't promise that, but likely. So that's expressive. And then driver buyer is the humble brags. If you do a story and you kind of showcase how you got from point A to point B, and you interject some of those wins, those I got nominated CEO of the year, I hit 7 figures in X amount of time, I wrote a book, this, or you start flexing. You talk about your wins, but of course in a loving and non like, hey, this is just me, in a nice marketing, you package it up in a nice marketing bow. And that is what is going to attract the driver buyers because they want to see that you are in a place that is better than them and that
Yep.
you can walk your talk. And so showcasing that is so important. And just sprinkling that in from time to time, it really creates the sense of authority and shows that you have confidence to back that up and that, hey, I've done this so you can do it too in a lot of ways. And so that's driver buyer energy is just think humble brags. How
Yep.
can I showcase the journey and point A to point B, the transformation that you have created, and give me the dirty, amazing little details inside there because they're going to want to know.
Yep.
They love facts. They love stats. And so that's driver. Amable is going to be that you are a safe space to talk at times too. Like you'll have some DM conversations, talking about the synergy within and the energy within your communities of how it's like really connected. They crave connection. They love community. Because oftentimes, think of it, we've heard how membership communities are crickets or mastermind communities, it's crickets and it's not, it's weird energy, right? So showcasing how you prioritize really good interpersonal relationships,
Hmm.
they're going to love that. So how can you create content? Can you do a walkthrough? Can you list off 6 ways that you really make sure that that's always alive and healthy and well? How do you lead by example, right? Because they want to feel like they're really going to have that community. Or, you can, again, they can have a conversation with you from time to time so that they can get to that decision.
Yeah. One way that I really love to do this on stories is it's nothing really related to business, right? It's when you ask a question or you say something like a few weeks ago, I bought popcorn to make homemade popcorn and I was trying to make it with ghee. My husband bought tallow instead. And I asked people in my story, like, hey, do you think my popcorn is just going to taste like beef? Like, what do you guys think? And then I got those responses in. And then, of course, I like asked them to share it if I could, like if they sent a funny response. And then like sharing those responses and having this like community of people that are like helping me decide if my popcorn is going to taste like beef or not. Right. And just like finding ways to take like real life things. Like if we were in real life and my friend was over, I'd be like, dude, is this going to taste like beef? Like, what do you think? And we'd all be like joking around and having fun with it and finding ways to like share that you're doing that in your community as well. Right. And again, this leads back to having fun in your damn marketing. Like people want to laugh. I love laughing. Life is way too short not to just like laugh about the funny things that happen and like into that bringing them into that joke almost. And it's so much fun.
I know. And people, they really overcomplicate things. Like
Yeah.
that is the key to amazing connected marketing. And the psychology behind that is the feel good factor.
Yep.
And so when you prioritize and say, hey, I want to really inject the feel good factor into my business, you are going to make people feel incredible. And one of the best things to do, I always say this, a great marketer will aim to be memorable and imagine being remembered for making people feel good. And I think in an era of problem aware agitation content, you're fucking winning. You're winning, dude.
I can't do educational content. Like I just can't. I hate watching it. I know it works. I know why it works. And I hate it. And I like I did some educational content in the beginning and I always hated how it made me feel. And it was like, why do I need to be posting content that makes me feel crummy? Like I don't want people to buy from me because I like pulled out their deepest, darkest insecurities and they're like, well, shoot, I need to fix this. No, like I want them to be so high on life. And there's such a huge shift. Like I don't attract people like that anymore at all. Like I only attract those like high energy, excited to learn, so excited to like change and do something about something. And I never, ever, ever want people buying from me because they feel shamed or I made them mad to buy. Like, yes, I'll do unpopular opinions to like bring up like actually unethical things in the space and like talk about things like that. But I'm never like, if you do this, like you need to purchase from me. No, I'm like, just do better. Like, and here's a better way to do it. But yeah, I can't handle educational content.
I'm with you on that. And I look at, so it is amazing, but when done tastefully and respectfully and limited.
Not rage bait.
Yes. Like I always say, I'm like, don't freaking waterboard me with this shit. I'm
No.
like, I can't. I'm like, I feel waterboarded. Go away. Like, what's going on? And so I look at it very similarly to scarcity. So you can, and it works. My God, it works. But it's just like scarcity. If you do it too much, you're going to put a bad taste in their mouth and people are going to lose trust with you. And it's all about trust-based marketing because think of how many people have been burned in the space. And so I'm so with you on that. And I literally could not agree more. And so, the feel good factor. And so that's, amiable buyers. And it's creating content again. It's not about putting you as the pedestal with amiable buyers or your personal brand. It's about putting the community and how your devotion to it and how they can play a role and they can see themselves playing a role. That would do amazing for that. And then analytical, literally be detail oriented. Give them the price, the details, when, how, where. Don't do an overly crazy wordy sales page. Get to the freaking point. For content, do a highlight. I suggest having a highlight that's just standing that's there while you're launching. And so they can get the details, because this is what I learned in my government job too. So when I managed the web pages, one of the tasks I had to do was audit the pages so that they were very, one, easy to read,
Yep.
like the marketing materials, and then two, less clicks, because the more clicks, the conversion rates go down. The same thing applies to your Instagram journey, right? When you go link in bio or click a highlight, every click, think of stories too. Every story, that's a live example of this in action. Every story of you, the views go down, right? So
Yep.
from the first one to the last, the same thing applies to your funnels, to your Instagram sales process. And so analytical buyer, make it so freaking stinking easy to consume the details. So have it maybe in a pinned post,
Yep.
have it in a highlight, make it repetitive in your content so that they can capture that detail without having to DM you
Yep.
or do a bunch of clicks and actually dig for the details. So that's the kind of content that I would do for the 4 buyer types.
And literally, you guys, this is what I teach inside of Rich Girl Launch. On the first day when you launch, my sequence of stories is what is it, who is it for, and what's included, right? And then that goes into a highlight bubble that you will see that I leave up for the entirety of the launch, right? It is so clear. This is literally why you have an FAQ on your sales page. It's for these people, and be so clear. Do not be cutesy or funny. Like, be so clear what is included, because they definitely need that.
Yeah. And I always say this too, confusion is the number one conversion killer.
Yep.
And especially with those analytical buyers, if you frustrate them, especially at the top of the organic funnel, they're going to be like, okay, never mind.
Done.
Yeah. Done.
Exactly. Well, that was amazing. And like I said before, you guys, if you're in Rich Girl community, Natasha's going to come do a more in-depth training for us in there. And I'm so excited for that. So Natasha, let us know where they can find you and how they can work with you if they want to.
Yes, thank you. So my speaking and mentorship and personal branding page is Natasha.Zoryk. And if you wanted to follow Azura, we are Azura. And right now I'm running the only mastermind for the year, but I am switching my model. So I'm going to have a lot of passive offers coming out in the next few months, free resources and stuff. But yeah, I have a few things up right now. You can have a look on my website, natashazoryk.com. And yeah, please feel free to DM me too. I love a good combo. If you have any questions or anything, I'm here for you. And it was such a pleasure.
Yeah, you guys, her Instagram stories are where it's at. If you like to laugh and you love to just, I don't know, she just always makes me giggle and I love it. And she never takes herself too seriously, which, obviously you guys know that's how I am as well. So she's amazing. Thank you so much for being here, Natasha, and everyone else. We will see you next week. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and my guests today. If you learned anything from our episode, I would love it if you could share it over on your Instagram stories and tag me at Abigail Pure. Until next time, love you, mean it.